Ready?
Well, good morning, everybody. So I've got some new ones in here I've not seen before, and it's always good to see new. 3 years ago, we recorded Program 1. How many of you have reviewed that tape? Have you seen that? About wowing and creating, got to show you something while you're waiting for the battery to climb, what have you. Amber, have you seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces.
All right. Something that I want all of you to do, they asked Peyton Manning when we won the Super Bowl how often he studied the playbook. Do you think it was once a year maybe? He averaged 4 hours a day. And one of the things that you guys, I want you to watch it over. It has nothing to do with me, but the more you see it, the more it becomes second nature. And the more you see it, the more you make it yours. And what is amazing is there's a lot of stores I do go to twice a year, and many I go to at least once. And when I take this long of a space to get back, sometimes I feel like I got to start over because it's been a while since you've seen it. And if I was to tell you that I had just shopped 3 times, and I was to ask how many of you wowed the client before they left, what do you think the answer would have been? Oh, got to show you something while you wait for your battery. How many times did that happen?
Once.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think it happened?
Probably not.
Probably not. And we have Alex and Ani, and every one of those people coming in should be wowed with something before they leave. They've got to be shown a carrot or something nice, because I don't want them to think we're a silver store or an Alex and Ani store. I want them to know we're Diamonds and Rolex first. So I want you to watch that one, especially before Christmas gets here, because impulse buys at Christmas time skyrocket. And tomorrow I'm going to review what we did 3 years ago for a couple hours, just to get it back refreshed. We have 9 levels of training that we do, and what's really interesting, Eli was saying how many stores I've been in, and I actually have trained 4,500 of them. And I was just speaking at IJO, had an audience of 300 and some. I did RJO, I spoke at a lot of national conventions. And something that I did this year is everywhere I spoke, I asked owners and salespeople how often they had sales meetings. And I had one audience of over 300, and I had 10 hands go up, but some of the hands were married to each other, the lady and the husband team. I had 10 hands. And I told our Fearless owner last night that I'm going to write an article in InStore. It's probably one of the most important ones I've ever written, and I've had one in there every month since 2004. And it's probably going to be the one that people hate the most. And something that's happening right now at a phenomenal rate, when 2008 started, when they called it the recession, I really think it's more of a depression than a recession, and it lasted through 2012, it lasted 5 years. 5,000 stores in our country closed. We averaged 1,000 a year, jewelry stores. Last year, 1,600 stores closed, and people were buying houses and cars and expensive vacations and spending money. It was unbelievable. More closed than the average during the recession. And what else is interesting, and I do a lot of projection and thinking and what have you, and I truly believe by 2025, 8 years from now, I believe 8,000 more are going to close. I told him this last night when he picked me up at the airport. Why do I think that? People aren't keeping up with what clients are wanting. They're not training. Their web pages suck. By the way, I looked at yours a lot before I came. Yours is awesome, and I told our owner last night it's the best one in the area. The next closest one is as good as yours is in Detroit. It's awesome. They're not doing proper advertising. They're not hiring people that want a career. It's just a job till something else comes along. Clients aren't that important anymore. I can give you a list. Walmart announced this year they're worth $230 billion. In March this year, Amazon announced they're worth $430. In 15 years, Amazon passed Walmart. It took them 15 years. So how people shop is changing, and what they want is still the same. The number one most important thing that you guys deliver when a client comes in here is the experience. You need to write that down. They can buy jewelry anywhere. They can buy Rolexes online. They can buy jewelry anywhere. Anywhere. So the experience today is more important than the product purchase because you can get product anywhere. The experience is more important. So people, when they walk in, want to feel important. They want to know that we're glad they came in. Obviously, they want to leave with something. We're like a freestanding store, especially coming this direction. I love the signage. And it makes an awesome, impressive statement when people drive by. But if you're going to build this kind of a store and they see it, they have high expectations, a lot more than when they're walking through a mall and they see the Zales or Arcades. In fact, when I walk by stores like that, I don't have any expectations anymore. So what we're going to talk about today is closing the sale. And you know what's interesting? Most salespeople, and I've been in the industry this October, next month actually, 43 years. And I've been tracking my closing ratio for a long time. I have stores tracking theirs. And most salespeople that have been doing this 5, 10, 20 years think, yeah, I'm pretty good at closing. That's what people think. And when I start tracking sales associates numbers, what I actually find out is most salespeople's weakest part of their entire presentation is closing the sale. When I started in the industry, there were a lot more people that really just looked. They really did just look. Well, people, when they go shopping today, they buy the day they shop because they don't have time to shop tomorrow if they're shopping today. I want you to think about this. People buy the day they shop. Do you buy the day you shop? I do. I don't have time to shop tomorrow if I'm shopping. In fact, I don't even have time to shop when I am shopping. So I'm a hunter. I find shoot it, kill it, and leave as fast as I can. My wife Emily is a gatherer. She'll hunt and look and hunt and look and find it and look around some more. She shops very different than I do. But when you have the brand that I'm standing behind right now, and you have the brands in your cases, and you have beautiful diamonds, it already raises the client's expectations. And I'm going to throw you out some numbers, and I want you to think about these. And we do research all the time. That's probably where some of our largest amount of money and time is spent in research. In fact, I was doing some last night when he and I were sitting at the dinner table having a meeting, getting numbers for him. Right now in a mall, malls in the United States, other than South Coast Plaza in Orange County, California, malls in the United States, closing ratios are 8 to 12%. Can you imagine having to wait on 100 people and you write up 8 sell flips? That would suck, wouldn't it? Independently owned stores that are in strip centers or they're in old downtown. Closing ratios right now in the United States in those stores is 23 to 27%. The reason I know this is I've had 3,000 stores sending and tracking closing ratios to me. We've been doing a lot of research with this. 23 to 27%, and every year it changes a little bit. Freestanding stores. They got their own parking lots, they're attached to nothing. Closing ratios are 27 to 33%. Branded freestanding stores. Yeah, they have Rolex, Decory, Hearts on Fire, Forever Mark. They got a lot of timepieces, all kinds of brands. Closing ratios are 45%. Not very high. The number that I want you to write down and be familiar with, this is the one that's important. Are you ready? 80+% of all people buy the day they shop. Now, if the closing ratios are 8 to 12, 23 to 27, 27 to 33, maybe 45%, 80% buy the day they shop, why are the closing ratios so low? Anybody want to take a guess?
No one's closing.
All right, what else?
Sales guy.
All right, keep going.
Product.
They're not being wowed with their experience.
All right. All those are correct answers. Listen to this. 60 to 70% of all the people that pull your door open cannot make up their own mind. Part of the price on the tag is they are paying you as a professional to help them make a decision. But what actually happens, a lot of sales associates do something called a show and tell presentation versus show and sell presentation. Big difference. If all you're doing is telling them about it and they can't make up their mind, they're going to walk. Now, this is what they're going to say. This client will actually say, "Oh, I'll be back." Now, have you ever had somebody say that to you? I know you guys have never heard that, right?
Every day.
National average. Listen to this stat. This is the one I hate the most. 93% of all people that say, "I'll be back," 93% never come back. 7% do. Now, if you have a higher than 7% comeback average, that's great. But if you do, it's not much higher than that. And what is interesting, that 60 to 70% that can't make up their own mind, part of the price of the tag of whatever they're looking at, part of that price is they're paying you as a professional sales associate to help them make a decision. Now, why don't I like that 93% that say I won't be back? 60 to 70% of those people buy within the first 2 hours after leaving your location. You want to know why they don't come back? Somebody else sold them. Is that a big number?
Huge.
Sure is. In most jewelry stores, more money leaves than we keep. Most jewelry stores, you guys allow your competitors to stay open by the ones we let leave empty-handed to buy somewhere else. That sucks too, doesn't it? But that's a true statement. What if we were so awesome? What if our closing ratio was 80+% and stores around us closed because they didn't leave and buy somewhere else? And then a lot of people think that salespeople are pushy, or you have to be pushy to be a good closer. That's what people think. Absolutely not true. And then I have people calling me and emailing me all the time about, we started tracking our closing ratio, Shane. We put a tracks on our door. And we found out that out of 100 people coming in, we're writing up about 27 sales slips. Repair tickets don't count. Battery tickets do not count. They come out. That is labor. 27%. You know what's amazing is how do they stay open? Have you ever figured out how much it costs to bring in each individual with the amount that you spend on advertising per head? Do you know what it costs to bring them in per head?
$100.
Say it louder.
Over 100.
To bring in each individual. So if we close 30%, 70 leave empty-handed, how much advertising money is walking out? And how much do you have to sell when you do close one to make up for the difference on the advertising dollars that are leaving empty-handed? You know, it's a lot, guys. So fixed expenses is a lot. So the higher the closing ratio, profit goes up, inventory turn goes up. Your payroll goes up, so does his. When inventory turns quicker, fixed expenses go down. He and I were talking about that last night at dinner time. And then a lot of salespeople, they'll say, "Shane, I'm having trouble closing." So I'll talk to them on the phone from a store, and I'll say, "Write out 10 closes and send them to me. Let me see what you're saying." So I read them. And what actually is happening is they write statements, guys. I just had a young lady, she wrote 10 closes and sent them to me because she was having trouble with them. And one of her closes was, "That's a beautiful diamond." As soon as I read them, I called her back, and I said, "That's a statement." I said, "You can make that statement of close by saying she's going to love wearing that beautiful diamond." But she wrote out 10 statements. And then it hit her like, gosh, that's what I've been doing all the time. So you've got to make sure when you close, what you say is a close, right? Not a statement. Statements help you close, but a statement's not a close. So what we're going to talk about all morning, and we have 2 presentations on closing. We've got one that goes into advanced closing skills. We're going to talk about that word, closing. Remember, it takes professionalism and no push. Professionalism and no push. If you're pushy in here, they're not ever going to want to come back. Now, one of the things you guys have are some pretty cool reviews. You realize that, right? If you look at them, you got some pretty awesome reviews. And what's interesting, millennials, 20 to 30-year-olds, when we have a presentation just selling millennials, and that one took 3 years of research to put together. We were on vacation out of the Colorado mountains, and we were deep in the mountains, and we were kind of hungry, and we went by this really nice-looking Italian restaurant, and I told JT, he's my youngest one, he's going to be 17 in a month, and I said, Google their menu, let's see what they got. And as we're driving by, he didn't Google the menu, he looked at the Yelps first. He said, Dad, you don't want to eat there, they've got a lot of negative things. And you know what's amazing is when you look at a Yelp, they don't put on the Yelp what they purchased. They talk about how they were treated first, and then they talk about what they purchased. But it's always about the experience first, then what they bought. Look at it. And I said, well, JT, I said, that's a beautiful building. There's nice cars in the parking lot. Let's look at the menu before we leave. Man, the menu sounded awesome. They said it was all made fresh, daily, made there. So we went in and ate, and actually it was incredible. And if we would have based not eating there on the reviews, we wouldn't have been in. But when you look at them, it's always about the experience first and then what they purchased or ate or what have you. We have a presentation selling on the internet, selling against it. Well, that's oxymoron. Yes, I have a lot of stores that have any business. I have stores I go to that don't. The number one reason people shop the internet, and everybody thinks it's price. It isn't. That's the fourth. Number one reason people shop the internet is because how they were treated somewhere. Number one reason. Number one reason. If you want to raise the bar on closing, it all starts with the experience delivered. Always remember that. The definition of salesmanship, and we talked about this in my first presentation, is your professional ability to create the desire to get the client to want the product. That is the definition. If you watch the tape, you'll see it, and I said it several times. Your professional ability to create the desire to get the client to want the product. Now, the close, there's 4 definitions. And if you remember, we talked about sales profiles. We talked about serpentines, missiles, and sneaks. I'm going to review that because it's been so long since I was here. And actually, what a serpentine does, and there's 70% of all salespeople. There's 5 levels of serpentining. A classic serpentine will follow the client to the door, and if nobody else is here, they can talk 30 minutes about stuff. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're really good relationship builders. They're good at it. So what a serpentine does is they'll talk about jewelry, talk about weather, talk about jewelry, talk about storms, talk about jewelry, talk about babies, talk about jewelry, talk about their new puppy dog. They'll talk about jewelry, talk about Orlando, and somewhere out here they close it. Now, what is interesting with the serpentiner is, as I said, not only are they good relationship builders, but they have an incredible gift of gab. And a lot of people, when they come in jewelry stores, do that. Here's why. We don't sell facts and reality. We sell feelings and emotions. We sell feelings and emotions. We sell life. Babies, birthdays, anniversaries, getting married. We sell all kinds of stuff. And people, when they come in and we're not selling tires, the conversation's totally different. The missile makes up 20% of all salespeople. There's 3 levels of them. And they don't talk about jewelry in the same way a serpentine does, because a serpentiner is talking about where that line crosses. All right? So missiles, they don't talk about babies and vacation and all that stuff. They only talk about the jewelry. So their presentation is called a straight line, because they don't get off target. They just stay on it. That is 20% of all salespeople. Then there's one that's called a sneak. Not a snake, a sneak. Now, they're like a chameleon. What can a chameleon do? Adjust. You're not kidding. They can change colors, turn green, red, brown, what have you. So what they do, and it's awesome, they can match a lot of different types of personalities. And they're really good at it. So they'll start out like a serpentine, Or like a missile, when they close back here, they kind of sneak in behind the close, and the clients wonder how they bought that. And they're glad they came in, but they have a very unique skill set. Now, you're one dominant. You're either a serpentine, missile, or sneak. You are one dominant. You can be part of two. You can't be all three. Now let me come back and explain that a bit. You could be all three, but you probably should be locked up in a room with a straitjacket on so you don't hurt anybody. You understand that, right? And I'm looking at you because you're probably the one that should be locked up in a room with a straitjacket. You know that, right?
Well, I do have all three.
So, you're one dominant. Robin, which one are you?
Probably serpentine and missile.
Serpentine dominant, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Brooke?
I think I'm also a serpentine too.
Any other?
Once in a while, I think I could be a snake.
All right. Amber?
I'm serpentine.
I knew that when we were over here. I just wanted to know if you knew that. Why is it important to know your profile?
So you can focus on your sales techniques.
All right,
So that
that's correct. Next on your profile, you're either patient or impatient. Now, how many of you think you're patient? Let me see the hands. Okay, keep them up. How many at the red light honk? That the person in front of you is not moving? Don't raise your hand. Because you just shove them through the red light. We had this discussion once before.
I mean, yeah.
Uh-huh. Are you patient?
I don't think I've ever haunted.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Man, I honk and shove them through the light. My wife tells me all the time I'm the most impatient person on the planet. So write down patience or impatient. Why is this important? What if somebody comes in and they're just a wonderful person, but they want to look at Pandora beads for 3 hours? Am I the right person there? I don't think so. Somebody won't die. And it's not me. So if somebody wants to be at bridal for 3 hours, I got to have the patient person. I'm a missile impatient. Next on your profile, you're either a dominant talker or dominant listener. Adam? Talker or listener?
I'm a talker.
All right. I'm a missile, impatient talker. What I want all of you to do is write down your profile right now. On your piece of paper, write it down, whichever one you are. Why? Because some clients want to be in and out in 20 minutes. Some want somebody that has the patience of Job. Some people are quiet and they want a talker. Some want a salesperson that listens more and they want to talk. When you have the right profile in front of the client's needs, the closing ratios go up. We have a whole presentation on the psychology of salesmanship. It's number 9. And what is interesting about that is when you got the right person with the right client, what happens to the closing ratio? It's going to go up. Because every one of you can close people I can't, and I've been doing this a long time. And I've tracked my closing ratio for over 30 years, and I'm in the high 70s, low 80 percentile. National average is 27%. All of you can close people Shane can't, but there's people I can close that you can't. And sometimes they want a lady, sometimes they want a man, sometimes they want an owner. Just depends on the individual. So the definitions of a close, and this is very important, and I'm going to talk to you about what profiles use these definitions. Definition number 1 is helping the client make a decision. I want you to write this down, guys. I want you to refer to these notes. Helping the client make a decision. That's a serpentine. Now what they do is they talk and help, talk and help, talk and help. That's a serpentine personality. And because there's 5 levels of serpentiners, the classic is the one that can fall into the door even stand in the square out there with them talking about stuff. And you all have seen clients do this, and they want to do that coming here. In fact, they will tell you stories they won't tell anybody else. We're kind of keepers of secrets in this industry, and you all know exactly what I'm talking about if you've been selling jewelry very long. Definition number 2 is timing and how you say it. That's the missile. And missiles are usually deadly in the 30-second window, usually. Reading when the client's exactly ready to buy it. We're going to talk about body language a bit tomorrow. We're going to do a review, but we're going to talk about body language. The clues they give you when they're ready to buy without saying a word sometimes. If you really are awesome at watching. Definition number 3. Designed and engineered to fit the client's personality. Oh yeah, sneak. Designed and engineered. That means they got to be really good at changing or matching the client's personality. Isn't that what that means? What it means. Definition number 4. And this is for all 3 profiles. Very simply, it's what you say to get your client to say, I'll take it. It's what you say that gets your client to say, I'll take it. Now, what is interesting about the close that you got to understand, it's a process. It is a process. Most people, when they close, if they do close, they wait till the end to do one. So if you're with somebody for an hour and you waited to the end, you had one. The close is a process that happens the moment the client comes in, and you do it all the way through your presentation until the ending. That's what it is. It is a process. So when clients come in, and before you can even introduce yourself, and they say, I'm just looking. How many times have you ever heard that? Thousands. My close, first one, is right there. They'll come in and they'll say, well, I'm just looking. And I'll say, I always do that before I buy. By the way, my name's Shane Decker. So I had a close before I even introduced myself. But they threw out something that allowed me to follow it up with one. I'm just looking. I always do that before I buy. First close is right there. And your goal needs to be, you have a close a minute. Did you hear me? A close a minute. So if I was with somebody for an hour, I had 60 closes. How many? That's interesting, Shane. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to be so smooth the client doesn't know you're closing. But how do you get good at something?
Practice.
Oh, really? Practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. My youngest son's 17, will be in a month. Last year he got a letter. He's a junior this year. He got a letter from the Air Force Academy. He got one from West Point. A high school student. He's a pitcher. He's a brown belt, full contact shorin Kempo. We're a martial arts family. He broke his 9th bone this year, and they found out he can't pitch for a while. 9th bone. Kicked him playing football.